First of all, I always thought that breast cancer was a white woman's disease. I didn't know that black women got breast cancer, and that was mainly because all the promotions featured white women. So I just thought, oh, black women don't get this. And then, lo and behold, I was diagnosed with stage 3 advanced breast cancer. I thought after that I finished with the IV and the chemo that I was going to go home. I didn't know I had to take additional over-the-counter, not over-the-counter, but prescription drugs. And I went, and it was quite expensive. And I thought to myself, okay, what do poor people do? How do women that look like me, that is less fortunate than I am, how do they make it? How do they find the money to pay for this prescription, take care of their families, cover all their finances? That must be so difficult for them. And then I was at home one morning feeling, terrible after chemotherapy treatment. Couldn't get off the bed. It was terrible. And I thought to myself, okay, I don't want any other woman that looks like me to have to go through this alone. So when I get better, I'm going to do something about this. That started the journey of me and the Olive Branch of Hope.
The Olive Branch of Hope's office is situated on Indigenous land. This is the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, the Wendat, and the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. The Olive Branch of Hope gratefully acknowledges these Indigenous nations for their guardianship of this land. The Olive Branch of Hope also recognizes stolen people from across the world who have inhabited this land by force. Slavery prior to and including the transatlantic slave trade continuing through modern-day human trafficking have brought Indigenous people from across the globe to care for this land. We acknowledge the truth of our Canadian history and commit ourselves to reconciliation, knowledge, and careful intention. I invite you to take a moment of silence. Feel free to use this moment for prayer, memory of a loved one, or to set an intention for your engagement in this space. Thank you for holding this moment of silence with me.
Thank you, sisters, for holding the moment of silence, for holding space, for standing up for yourselves and with one another so that these amazing visions and dreams that we have as visionary women can be delivered to the world, whether through entrepreneurship or in not-for-profit. We are so happy to have been able to bring you 30 Days of HERstory 2023. We are on day 19, and I am so happy. If you caught us at the very beginning, you heard the voice of Leela Springer, co-founder of the Olive Branch of Hope. If you picked it up, she has a Bajan accent. I have a Bajan accent, and the next person who's coming up to join us tonight also has a Bajan accent. Please welcome to the stage Aiko. Aiko, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm really happy that we're getting a chance to do this tonight. I got the opportunity to meet you at an event that you catered for the Barbados Consulate at Toronto. And tell us a little bit about what that was like for you.
Well, it was pretty exciting. A little nerve-wracking because I would say that was my first catering event doing by myself. I'll usually work with other chefs, but it was my first time doing my own event, And it was a pretty big event, but it was exciting, nerve-wracking, but I had a lot of fun.
Yes. And you pulled it off. You really pulled it off. And everybody that you had helping you, they were really bigging you up. because it was two floors, right? So even in your absence, they spoke very highly of you, your food, your professionalism, your presentation. It was a lot of good remarks all around. So I'm really happy. Thank you to the Barbados Consulate that's been a very big supporter of the Olive Branch of Hope. For bringing the awareness of amazing talents such as yours. So I already gave it away that you cater and you're a chef and whatnot, but please tell everyone about you. Tell us about your business. Tell us how you got started in business and where you're looking to take it.
Okay, well, my name is Aiko, and I'm originally born in Barbados. I moved to Canada in 2013, and I was a teenager when I moved here, and I was looking for my first job, and I felt like, what could I possibly do? Because before I moved up here, I was actually into sports, and I was quite good. I'll play football, and I was an athlete as well. So with that, I came up here, and things quite changed. So I wasn't sure that I wanted to continue the athletic career. So I was looking for something different, and I remember back in the day, um, when I was going to school, there's this class called home economics. And I would come home and tell my grandma, I think I like this, I think I like to cook. And she reminded me of that. So just coming up here, I decided that I'll get my first job in the restaurant industry. And that kind of just started this whole love for cooking. It just snowballed into something that I didn't really imagine or expect, but was very excited and happy about.
Yes, yes. I love the voice of your grandmother, you know, being your sounding board when you were younger and then also being able to remind you, you know,
Yes, that was quite
yes,
interesting, because she was like, "Well, Aiko, I remember you telling me that this is a real interest, and that I said that you should pursue it." And I was like, "Really? I don't remember that." She was like, "Yeah, but I remember." So it was quite interesting.
yes, yes. Pulling back that voice of wisdom, right? And it's so interesting how sometimes we have a vision and we have a passion, but sometimes it takes somebody else to kind of see it and call it out of us and help us to
Absolutely.
reconnect with it for sure. Well, talking about that, so you were pursuing athletics.
Mm-hmm.
And at what age did you realize you were good in sports?
Well, funny enough, I actually started playing football from the time I was 4 years old. So I started quite young. So from then, that was basically my interest. I thought I was gonna be play a professional footballer, to be honest with you. But then things took a little bit of a change when I moved up here, and then it just continued from there. But I
Yeah.
actually started sports quite.
Uh-oh, looks like we've lost Aiko. There we go. We've got you back now.
Sorry about that.
All right. Yes.
Continue. Yes.
Yes, we can hear you now. Yeah. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, awesome. Yes, we can hear you now. So you were saying you started playing football at 4 and you thought you were going to be a professional football player. And just so everybody who's listening to us understands, when we say football, we mean like football that connects with your actual foot. So what you may call soccer. For the rest of the world, for us, it's football, right? Yes. So yes, tell us more about that.
um. Well, yeah, I thought I was gonna be a footballer. It was going pretty well actually. I got a scholarship and I was supposed to go to North Carolina to play. But then funny enough, my brother got in an incident. So we actually had to come back to Canada because we drove from Canada to New York and we continued. That's what we were going to do. But on the way there was an incident that happened. So it kind of like deterred the track as well. So I never actually got to make it to that. But yeah, I just felt like things were it was time for a change. I wasn't too sure, like I said, what next, but I felt like there was not as much challenge in what I was doing, and I wanted to find something else that I felt suited who I was becoming.
Right. I love that, who you were becoming. And I think it's really important for our visionary women and our young women to hear, because you talk about having one clear idea. You were pretty sure you
Mhm.
were going to be a footballer, and then circumstances and life taking you on a different path that brought you to Canada, which wasn't lining up exactly with that first initial vision. But you also,
Mhm.
they also give you a chance to recognize that there was a disconnect that was brewing, right?
Yeah.
Because now you're good at this and you're not feeling as challenged and as driven and as connected to that original idea. And so here you are now living out something that you did not imagine. And so
Yeah.
I want you to talk about your idea on the importance of having a vision.
Um. Well, I feel like having a vision is important because it determines where you will go. I believe. At least you know where you want to go. That's the first step. If you don't have any kind of vision of where you want to go, then you don't really know how to get there. But if you could kind of see that, you know the steps and what you have to do. So I feel from that perspective, it's important to have a vision, a sense of beliefs. It gives us something to believe in, and identity. I just feel like from that perspective is important. But
Yeah.
most of all, so you can follow your dreams, vision is important.
Absolutely. And recognizing that that vision can change as we grow to meet ourselves more and get more experiences and discover more parts of ourselves,
At
you
any
know?
time, at any
Yeah.
time it can change, as you like you say, as you continue to evolve, the vision can always change. And also I think it's important to allow it to flow, because sometimes I feel as people you get a little bit stuck on keeping things the same, but then you have feelings and you don't connect with things like you used to. And I feel it's important to allow yourself to flow and things to evolve. And
Absolutely.
that, yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, that flow is important because sometimes we'll see that although the expression is different, sometimes at the core it's still the same, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in football and in the
Absolutely.
kitchen, you have team members, people walking around you with hot pans and sharp knives and whatnot. There's a lot of communication that has to happen, in a restaurant situation. It could be moving very quickly. When it's your turn, you got to hold it, you got to pass it off. It's like the same kind of like thought process is happening
Mm-hmm.
on the field and in the kitchen, right?
Yep.
And how has one thing prepared you to be excellent in the next thing? So sometimes, even though it might be expressed differently, we realize that it's still the same. We're still the same, and what speaks to
That's
us is
very.
still the same. Yeah.
That's quite true.
Yes. Now, you talk about a lot of transitions, being born in Barbados, expecting to go to university in North Carolina, moving to Canada, your brother getting involved in an incident. All these transitions are happening. You have a career shift as well. In any of these spaces, did you ever feel as though your voice was diminished?
Um, Funny enough, back then, no, not in those spaces. I think that would have happened a little bit further along the journey. But back then, I was very like resilient, very outgoing. So it's in that way, I would just keep going. And I was young as well, a little bit younger. So I feel with that, sometimes you just chase after your goals. But yeah, from I would say my teenage years. So let me say around 18, 19, around
Yeah.
there is when I would say I started feeling like my voice would started to feel like diminish.
Mhm.
Yeah.
There's something I'm wondering. Did you have that sense of, your voice being diminished when you were growing up home in Barbados, or only within an immigration experience?
I feel like I've had my Yeah, so I feel like I've had experiences in Barbados too that have made me feel that way. Yes,
Hmm. Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah. But it's that age too, right? Where sometimes we even start questioning what it is that we're going to say next. That can also add to that sense of voicelessness, right? Or a diminishing of our own voice because we start to absorb everybody else's questions throughout the years, right? And then turn that lens onto ourselves. So we really want to pull out these moments so that when our visionary women are watching back, and they say, oh, wait a minute, that's true. I feel like if it's been in one circumstance, but not in another, right? Or, but at one age, but not at another age, right? Um, and because at that point, if you're in that space where you're feeling like I can't really get my words out, I feel like I'm talking but nobody's hearing, or I feel like I can't speak, we want we want everyone to be able to say, okay, well, this only lasts for but a moment, right? And I can change certain things about my circumstances that give me the opportunity to raise my voice a bit more, right? Now, you are an artist. I don't feel any shame in saying that because I've seen the presentation of your food, right? So you're an artist. You come from this strong sports background, and you're in this expressive creative space, and you're using all of these different talents and parts of yourself to bring this, like, these beautiful creations, right? That I am particularly proud of because, they're like true to core Beijing, but then they have this like fancy flair to them. Um and in some ways I would say that the food you're putting out there and the work that you're doing expresses a bit of a story. It tells your story. But
Hmm.
whether through, your cooking or even sports or any of these pieces, what would you say is the importance of you telling your own story?
I feel is important because it allows and gives other people courage to tell theirs. I feel like I hear your story, it encourages me, pushes me to keep going. And I feel like that's just a ripple effect. When people share their stories, it like encourages people. Even if it's one person that it touched, it did something. So from that perspective, I think it's important to share your story, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Because there's so many different versions of any one story, right? So someone could look at your life and tell their version of your story from their perspective. And is that the message that you really want to be delivered, right?
True.
Um, yeah, and I love what you said about it encouraging other people to tell their stories, because it is in those moments that we gain so much more strength and also understanding of ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes. Now, we think at Her Story that when we hone our vision, amplify our voice, and determine the version of our story that we deliver to the world, that it gives us the opportunity to live a life of victory. Beyond having moments of victory, it gives us the chance to live a life where we walk as victorious people. What image comes to your mind when you hear a word like victory?
Funny enough, what image comes to my mind? I would say the beach. It's an interesting thing, but the beach and just like this small restaurant and a beach. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah. What's your favorite beach at home? Have to ask.
Um, I like. I don't even know. There's Mullins, but it's not Mullins. It's a little
A
bit
little
further
further
down.
down.
Before, like
Uh-huh.
before you get to Mullins. Yeah, I don't know what's the name of it, but it's just like this nook and cranny. My grandmother lives right. That's her backyard.
Uh-huh.
It's just out there.
You know why I smile so big? Because Mullins is my favorite beach at home. So I was like, how is she calling this already?
Yeah, that's funny, but listen, the West Coast is really nice, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Yes. But I like that idea of the restaurant on the beach. No, is that your restaurant that's on the beach in
Yes,
this
yes,
image?
yes. It's mine.
Yes,
Yes.
right.
That would be
Yeah.
the like yeah.
So let
That
me
would be a
know where.
real victory vision.
Yeah, let me know where and when. Yes, please. I am sharing in that one with you and putting that one out there for sure. But yeah, so maybe ladies in our 2024 fall retreat, maybe we'll get a chance to go see Aiko's favorite spot on the island. We do like those in betweens, right? In between the popular spots where only the locals know about. So we might give you a little sneak peek. But yes, I love that idea of victory, and it speaks so much to like you and your roots, right? And having the sense of tranquility and peace and
Yeah,
yes, absolutely. And service, right? Here you are bringing your gift to serve whomever is there on the beach, enjoying your food and whatnot. So, yes. And in that spirit of service, we are so happy and so proud at Her Story to be supporting the Olive Branch of Hope as our 2023 nonprofit partner. The Olive Branch of Hope has been holding sacred space here in Canada for Black women with breast cancer for over 20 years. And just last year launched the Olive Branch of Hope, the Barbados chapter. And this organization has been supporting women in the Caribbean, knowing that access to early screening, access to care is a lot more challenging throughout the Caribbean than it is here in Canada. And so to be able to reach out that hand and spread those branches and allow for the care to continue to grow there. I'm sorry, guys, for everybody watching, but this is going to be like a real big all the Bajan situation going on tonight because not only was the Olive Branch co-founded by a Barbadian, but one of our outstanding partners, Dr. Juliet Daniel, also Barbadian. She's a geneticist working at McMaster University and doing a lot of research to support the understanding that we need race-based data in healthcare and specialized approaches with cultural intention for different groups. And she's been able to isolate the KYSO gene. I don't even know how you just find a gene, much more isolate them, but she did that. And she named it KYSO after Calypso, right? That we know from home. And this gene has shown that there is a predisposition in women of West African descent to triple negative breast cancer. And triple negative breast cancer is the form of cancer that is most aggressive and most difficult to treat. And so, making sure that more and more people understand the need for dedicated research, the need for, collation of all the information that is out there, the need for sharing of information. All this year, we are sharing about lymphedema in particular. Lymphedema is a disease that can be developed, so I should say condition that can be developed after breast cancer treatment or during breast cancer treatment. So if your lymph nodes are involved, which means that the cancer is trying to spread to other parts of the body and it's caught in the lymph nodes, then the doctors would seek to remove the lymph nodes. They can't always see how many are impacted. So they'll just kind of take a scoop out. And then afterwards, they'll tell you how many were taken and how many had disease present. And so with that, we want to make people aware that if you are going to have a surgery with your lymph nodes being removed, please, please, please ask your doctors and your medical health providers to talk to you a little bit more about what to expect where lymphedema is concerned, and make sure that they put you in touch with as many care providers who are specialized in lymphedema care as possible. You may never develop it. You might sneeze and develop it. It's one of those very strange, conditions that it could go either way very quickly. And so we want to make sure that more women know about lymphedema. We want to make sure that our friends and family members who are supporting us understand what it is all about. So, for example, don't poke me on my right arm, right? Don't come and give me like, hey, what's going on? Smack on my right shoulder. Like, please don't do that, right? So just to understand that even after breast cancer treatment and our hair has grown back, right, and everything has come back, it doesn't mean that everything is done. We're still dealing sometimes with the after effects. And at HERstory, if you go to our website, hey sister, herstory.ca, you will find there lots more information on the Olive Branch of Hope, and as well ways that you can help. You can donate directly there. You can buy merch, and we'll be supporting the organization through all of our merch that we raise money through. And you can join our masterminds and join our sisterhood and be a part of this ongoing movement towards fortifying women-led nonprofit organizations. This is our third female-led nonprofit organization since 2020, and we are really, really excited to have started this campaign with them. So, Aiko, do you have maybe one word of inspiration that you'd be willing to leave with our visionary women who are watching now or any other point in time?
One word of inspiration?
Yes, please.
Discipline.
There's that sportsmanship coming out, right? That I'm sure is expressed in your kitchen, right? Discipline. Yes, please. Discipline, my sisters. It's funny because I've had this conversation with one of our 2114 consultants recently, and we were talking about discipline and grace and how they seem to be opposite to each other sometimes. Where when we are the most gracious to ourselves, we tend to be our least disciplined, right? So the most gracious, time will say, you know what? You'll reach the deadline. Chill out. Go take a break, right? That's being gracious to ourselves. But our most disciplined self tends not to be terribly gracious, right? We're like, no sleep. Have to get it done, right? And that we find ourselves on these two ends of the spectrum. So we've been asking ourselves, is it possible? Is it possible to either be in the middle or, like you said earlier, find the flow between the two? I don't know. I'm asking the question because I think it's a worthy question for us to ask. If any of the visionary women feel like you have the answer, please drop it in the comments below and we'll check back and see what you said. But yes, I totally agree with discipline. We do not realize our vision without discipline. It is certainly one of the elements and tools that we will need to wield on our behalf and on behalf of others, right? Sometimes it is us being disciplined that sets the example for another person following to realize, this doesn't just happen by chance. It doesn't happen by luck, right? Sometimes I get really frustrated when people are like, oh, you did that. You're so lucky. I'm like, no, I work hard as hell, right? So really being able to understand that it is about a commitment and it is about putting, that driving force behind it and sticking to it and having that discipline. So thank you very much for sharing that with us. And we are encouraging all of our visionary women to, again, stick to those 4 tenets that you'll hear us talking about all the time here at HERstory. Amplify your voice. Hone your vision, amplify your voice. You write the version of your story, and my sisters walk in a life of victory. Thank you for joining us here today. Aiko, thank you for being with us.
It was my pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
Of course. And my sisters, go slay your day.
First of all, I always thought that breast cancer was a white woman's disease. I didn't know that Black women got breast cancer, and that was mainly because all the promotions featured white women. So I just thought, oh, Black women don't get this. And then lo and behold, I was diagnosed with stage 3 advanced breast cancer. I thought after that I finished with the IV and the chemo that I was going to go home. I didn't know I had to take additional prescription drugs. I went and it was quite expensive. And I thought to myself, okay, what do poor people do? How do women that look like me, that is less fortunate than I am, how do they make it? How do they find the money to pay for this prescription, take care of their families, cover all their finances? That must be so difficult for them. And then I was at home one morning feeling, terrible after chemotherapy treatment. Couldn't get off the bed. It was terrible. And I thought to myself, okay, I don't want any other woman that looks like me to have to go through this alone. So when I get better, I'm going to do something about this. That started the journey of me and the Olive Branch of Hope.